And on the very front,
I'm stupid.
the first screen, it has a little sign-up link for the sign-up box for the newsletter. Please put your email in there so you can get our emails. Also, if you already signed up on this list and you're like, what, where are these emails going? It's probably because we use MailChimp and it goes to your promotions folder on Gmail. Dish it out of there and move it to your inbox so you get it in your inbox. That's it. Does anyone have any questions? Concerns? Anything like that? Okay, cool. Please get into, if you're not sitting next to someone, which I doubt, there's a lot of people in here, sit next to someone. Because if there's debugging, it's nice to have a friend next to you, so hopefully Sean doesn't have to stop his entire talk to come up. If you guys have friends who are sad they cannot be here, tell them there is a live stream that is going to be posted. Cool.
Wait. Fuck.
Yeah, it's not coming out. Yeah.
You stream on it. You do have a blank.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
And we need to reset it to what?
You put it in delay.
No, we don't. Don't worry about delay. Just we're just gonna go.
All right. Let's go.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. All right, we're gonna get started, guys. So throughout this Hacktorial, there's gonna be a lot of kind of hands-on exercises. So I hope all of you guys kind of brought your own devices to work on. And if you have your own devices, you can go to this URL up there, ter.ps/hackapi, and you can get a real-time feed of the presentation directly on your device. So we're gonna get started. So how to build mind-blowing projects without knowing anything. So I go to a lot of hackathons, and I encourage a lot of my friends to do the same thing. And the most common feedback that I get is that they tell me they see all these kind of cool, fancy things like some kind of machine learning, image recognition, speech recognition, which are like advanced topics, and they really tell me that they don't know anything and they don't know how to build anything cool. That they lack kind of a practical knowledges. But the truth is, really, there's no need to reinvent the wheel because there are already many APIs available out there that you can just use to build your next really cool, ambitious projects on your own. And to do that, we're going to use web APIs. And you guys are probably, I'm assuming you guys have at least 131 background. How many of you have taken 131 or who's currently in 131? 132? 216? 330? Or beyond? Wow, okay, all right. Cool, so you guys probably know what API is, application programming interface. They just apply basically an abstraction layer so that you can just think of these things as black boxes that you just know that they work, but you don't actually have to know the implementations of the specific details on how, for example, speech recognition is worked out. So I actually have compiled, and stole some list of useful APIs. You can go to ter.ps/API1 and API2. I think it'll be useful for you guys just to keep this for your future references. I think they're very useful for, maybe for hackathon projects. Did everybody get the URL? I'm going to move on. So, okay. So the key of using web API is that you're going to make use of the internet, obviously, right? And the internet at 200,000 feet really looks like this. You have your browser and a server, and you communicate via making requests, and you receive response, and that's done via a protocol called HTTP. So that's what we're going to talk about today. An HTTP request consists of the following: the header, which contains a bunch of metadata, for example, what kind of browser you're currently using. And it holds also something called method. We're going to do get and post methods today, and the URL and the data you're sending over via request. We're not going to look at actually header at all, because it just, I think, confuses some people over. And what we're going to do today has nothing to do with the header. But for your own reference, I've included here. So let's get some hands dirty. So I hope, who has access to Unix machine? Who doesn't have access to Unix machine? Okay. If you have access to Unix machine, pull up a terminal and type in nc-l 3000. What this command is going to do is just going to make the terminal listen to the port 3000 in your local host. And if you open up another tab and go to localhost :3000, it's going to show you blank screen. I mean, you see my age, but that's because I'm using an extension. And on the browser, you see that these bunch of data has popped in. Get request, localhost 3000, and bunch of metadata. That's what the header is. And what you can do is you can now type hello world. Oh, sorry? Oh, that's a localhost :3000. 3000 is the port that we specified in the nc command. So again, the command is nc-l and 3000. It could be any number, actually, if you want. It could be like 4,444 if you want it to be. Now, thank you for coming to the, let me zoom this in so that it'll be easier for you to read. Can everybody see this, what I'm typing? Okay, good. Now, if I exit the program, you'll see that the website, localhost 3000, renders that text. So that's like kind of a basics of HTTP request. You basically, on our browser, which is a client, go into the URL, and we have a server that is just waiting. And once we receive the request, we just send a reply back, which is received as a text on the browser. Did everybody get this? Who didn't get this? Because if you get lost now, it'll be kind of you'll be lost for the rest of the talk. So it's very important that you catch up now. Yeah. Okay, all right. Go to the terminal and run the command nc-l and whatever the port number. We use 3000 here. And then on the browser, go to localhost 3000.
The text on this one a little bit bigger.
Oh yeah, is it? Okay. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, by the way, if you have any, this is supposed to be very like interactive exercise. So if you have any questions, just like raise your hand and ask, like, just shout out questions. Yeah. Well, by the way, if you know how to do it, if you see someone next to you, raise your hand, help them out. Thanks, guys.
Windows.
Windows. Do you guys have access to any Unix machine?
Virtual machine now.
Okay. I mean, if this is the only thing you cannot do, I mean, you'll be able to call it, but you get the idea, right? So you understand what's happening. Good.
If anybody does not have Google Chrome, please download it. Everything we're going to do requires Google Chrome. We're going to use some features that are not supported already. You got this over. I'm just saying. All right, we're gonna move on to everybody's what?
Also, if you haven't downloaded already, you need to install Node.js and make a GitHub account if you haven't already. Please do so if you haven't already. All right, moving on. Yep. All right, if you haven't installed already, you need to install Node.js and make a GitHub account if you haven't. And Google Chrome, absolutely necessary. I'll give everyone maybe 15 seconds to do it. All right, is everybody good now? We're gonna move on. Good? All right. And another request we're gonna deal with, so what we've done just now is a form of GET request. And the other request we're gonna look at is a POST request, and we're gonna use something called AJAX call. But all you really need to know is the syntax that we're gonna use here. So the AJAX call consists of the URL, method, data, and we're gonna have two functions that we pass into. Oh wait, sorry, there's a typo there. It should be success and colon, not a comma. So you see that you're passing in this kind of it's like a dictionary in Python, or it's like a key and value pairs you're passing into the AJAX function. You see that for URL, we pass in the URL of the resource. The method is gonna be post. The data is what we wanna pass into the server. And these success and error parameters, we're gonna pass in another function. These are something called callback functions, and these are the functions that gets executed if the request is either successful or is a failure. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions? Clarify now if you don't have any questions. Okay, moving on. And after you make a request, you get response object back, and this response consists of, it could be a JSON object or simple text, or and it also includes what's called a status codes. That kind of is a short description of how successful the request was. So for example, if you receive 200 or 202, it's a good sign. Everything was good and it was processed well. But if you get 404, it means you screwed up something. If you get anything 500, that means the server screwed up something. So these are just the common ones that is good to know, good for you to know. They appear everywhere. Okay, so we're gonna start building cool stuff. So you see, it really required almost no knowledge. And you can start building some voice-controlled smart home application we're gonna build all together today. And how we're gonna do it, we're gonna use something called With.ai. You guys may be familiar with it already. It's a natural language processing platform. It was a startup, and it was purchased by Facebook, I think for $2 billion recently in the past year or so. And it's what really powers Facebook M. How many of you have heard of Facebook M? Yes? Raise your hands higher. I don't see. Okay. It's basically like Siri, but it'll do more sophisticated things for you. You could maybe say oh, can you draw a picture of me? And it'll draw a picture of you. It's actually controversial if it is completely AI or there are humans involved, but With.ai is what powers Facebook. And we're going to make use of that to build our cool app today. And to do it, we're going to use something called Node.js. How many of you have installed it? Please, I have to make sure everybody has it. How many of you doesn't have Node.js? Okay, good. So how many of you are familiar with Node.js already? Or have heard of it ever before? It's the only real developer language, so you should know this. So Node.js is a JavaScript runtime and V8 engine. You can just think of it as a web server, so it's what will do the serving. So it's like what you guys saw earlier on the NC command, this is what's gonna do. That's what this Node.js is gonna do. It's basically wait for requests, and it's gonna supply responses, and we're gonna use that to build our app. It's all single-threaded, and it has very high level of concurrency. That's really all you need to know about Node.js. And you guys are familiar with JavaScript, right? You can write hello world in JavaScript and have taken 131, and you should be good to go. Okay, so you're gonna build a smart home assistant that can open and close the door for you and can change the room temperature for you. All voice controlled. Okay, so how this is gonna work out is, this is like the high level instruction. I'm gonna soon give you a GitHub URL that you can go to, and there are also instructions there. You're first gonna go to the with.ai, create an account. I think you can just log in with your GitHub account, and you're gonna create your own instance and train it. I'm gonna go through all the steps step by step, so you guys can all see it. And we're gonna use the web speech API for voice recognition, and we're gonna make a post request via Ajax to retrieve the intent from the with.ai and then perform action. So once I show you a demo, so I have a complete working demo on my laptop, which I'm going to show you, and then everything will kind of start making sense. But before that, please go to this URL, github.com/Seanbei/Jarvis, and of course your stars are much appreciated. So once you're at this URL, there's a URL. Take a look at where my mouse is. There's some kind of URL right there. The command you need to execute on your terminal is git clone https://github.com/seanbeijarvis.git. Again, stars are appreciated. Stars are very much appreciated. All right. Who's having trouble cloning this repository? Everybody got it? You having trouble? Do you have git install? Okay. All right, help each other out. Somebody next to me doesn't problem. All right, if you don't have git installed, install git. Yeah, but if git command does not work, just download it as a zip. Because you're not going to actually commit anything or push anything to this repository, so just download it as a zip. So that should actually solve most of the problems here. All right, so there's a button that you guys see here. Download zip. Just click on that. You should get a copy of this, and you should unzip it.
So do I have to do the same thing?
Yeah, so don't clone, just click on the download zip.
Just download the zip anyway.
If you have cloned it, then you don't need it. You don't need the zip, yeah. Questions? Yeah.
So you said that I'm essentially downloading this to then what's the point of doing
Oh, if you can get it to work, then it's fine. If you cannot get it to work, if you like go ahead and get it to work,
Okay, so if I wait for this to work on and been successful with it.
No.
All right, is everybody good? Questions? All right, cool. We're gonna get started now. All right, so wherever you have installed the, let me see. All right, so I'll assume that you guys have cloned this repository already, and then you just move on to that repository. So is everybody familiar with the Unix kind of commands, change directory running commands? I hope so, because we did the nc command. So I think everybody should be good to go. So once we are here, you're going to run the command npm install. And it should show you just kind of a garbage text afterwards. Is everybody good? npm install. If you have installed node.js, this command should work on your machine.
So we just CD into directory.
Yeah, move on to that directory, run the npm. Yeah, wherever you, so and double check after running the command, should be a new directory named node_modules in that folder. Good? All right, moving on. Okay. Now, then go to a folder named config there, and then change the with.ai.default.js file to with.ai.js. So just get rid of the default and one dot. That's my fault. Just change the name. Change the name of the file with.ai.js. God damn it. With ai.default.js to with ai.js. It's in the config folder. All right, good? All right, now everybody please go to the URL named with.ai on your browser. Yeah. Sorry? Oh, just get rid of default. So it should be with ai.js. Okay? All right, now if you go to the URL with.ai, go log in. You should be able to log in with your GitHub account. There's a button log in with GitHub. Cool. Before we proceed, I just want to give you a quick demo of what the app is going to look that we're going to build today. Then you see here's like I'm not a front-end developer, so the UI is kind of shitty, but please bear with me. So you have a Jarvis here, and I'm going to zoom in. There's a listening button. So after you press that button, the computer is going to listen for you. And then it's going to write down whatever the text that you speak into. And we're going to open the door or change the temperature. So let's take a quick demo. Please close the door. Sorry, one second. Please open the door.
Opening the door.
So this is what we're going to build. Change the temperature to 65 degrees.
Changing the temperature to 65 degrees.
So I hope is everybody clear what we're going to build today? So this is what we're going to build. All right, so back to with.ai console. If you need to create a new application, you can do that by clicking on a plus icon at the right top corner and name it whatever you want it to be. I'm going to name it Hacktorial. And then make it an open application. Let's see. Is everybody here now? Yeah, sorry. The nature of this talk is structured so that, like, everybody needs to keep up with, where I am. So for those of you who understand quickly, it might be a little slow, but please bear with me. Yes, question.
After we install
Just go to the there should be a file that we get change it to AI. Change the file. Yes. Yeah, just change the default and just leave it with AI.
Please help each other out. Like that'll save everybody's time by probably like half an hour.
All right. So what with.ai does is you're gonna basically provide a bunch of text to it, and with.ai will be able to extract the intent of the text. So that's what we're gonna use. So we don't actually have to hard code any of this, like the string inputs. So during the demo, I said please open the door, but I could have said could you maybe please open the door, and we still would have been able to understand what the command was. So for our purposes, let's say please open the door. Please close the door. Okay, so we have an intent. We're going to call our intent door. Great. So once you're here, you're going to click on the door here at the top, and we're going to create a bunch of training sets. This is what's powerful about with.ai. You don't actually have to know any of the fancy machine learning algorithms. You're just going to type in a bunch of text that you want to parse, and it'll tell you the intent afterwards. So here, click on the please close the door example, and we're going to add an entity here. That entity is going to be here. On and off, because door is only going to have two states, either open or closed. Okay, so we're going to click on and off and choose it. And of course, if you close the door, the value is going to be off, and you need to validate that afterwards. Okay, now for opening the door, we're going to do the same thing, on and off, and it's going to have the value of on. It's a little slow here, but okay. And create as many examples that you want to create. It helps increasing the accuracy of the with.ai. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a bunch of dummy examples. If you have any problems, raise your hand. I'll get to you. Yes.
Anybody else have a problem? It's a little slow.
All right, to speed up the talk, I'm just going to use my pre-trained week that I got. Yeah.
Going too fast. That's great.
Oh, really? Okay. That's my fault.
Alright, when you run the NPA software, you must be in the directory of the repository. Otherwise, the command won't work. It seems like a common problem with the Alright, if you're having trouble with bit.ai, I'm just gonna have all of you guys connected to my pre-trained account, so don't worry about it. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna move on if everybody's okay.
All right. Okay. So what I'm gonna need all of you guys to do is, remember that file with ai.js file you guys changed name to? You need to fill that number in there. Sorry, it's kind of inconvenient. It's just a module.exports equal to that string. So this is so that you guys can use my pre-trained with.ai app instead of writing tons of examples on your own. Yeah, this will give you access to my with.ai application. So I'm going to actually disable this token after the talk. So if you want to do it again, you should create your own application again, because somebody could maliciously use this token. All right. Is everybody okay? We're going to move on. No? All right. Huh? All right. All right, if you are too lazy to write that number down, there should be another file uploaded on the GitHub repository named with.ai with that string in there. Sorry? Yeah, so if you just go back to the repository and go to the config folder, there should be another file just with ai.js, and it shouldn't have the string that you need. This token will be disabled again after the talk. Is everybody good? We're going to move on. Yeah, and again, if you guys can't stay, I think this is going to take a little longer than I first expected because, like, you have to move on with everybody, so it's fine if you guys have to leave. Well, I'm going to stay here until everybody gets to finish. Yes, promise?
You guys want to leave, don't worry. This will all be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. So if you guys want to follow along your own at home, that's fine as well. So like, if you actually have to go, that's fine.
But if you leave, I won't be able to help you debug it, so you're on your own. But if you stay, you'll be able to build it.
Yeah, by the way, there are a lot of NPCs up here. If you guys, are fine with sitting up front, please like moving. It'll help us kind of get through this a lot quicker.
Yeah, I think we're coming. All right, we're going to continue, guys, if everybody's okay. All right. So if you go to the folder, let's see. If you go to the folder public and go to the folder called JavaScripts, you're going to find two files, jarvis.js and jarvis.template.js. You guys are going to write code in the template file, not the jarvis.js file. The jarvis.js file is for there to give you serve as a reference. Jarvis.js file is a completed file. So if you guys are having trouble, you can just copy code from there and it should work. Okay? So I'm going to have your side-by-side, left and right. So the left side is the working code, right side is what we're going to implement. So it should kind of look like similar to your comp sci projects where there's like a basic framework and there's like a part that you need to implement. Okay? So we're going to get started. Half of people are gone. All right, that's fine. Let's go. So, okay. So we're going to first get started by using something called speech synthesis API that's built into Google Chrome. So if you could open up Google Chrome, what you can do is you can press, if you're on Mac, you can press Option Command J. It should bring up this window on the side. And what you can do is type var synthesis. So basically just copy this code on the line 13 and paste it to the console. Do you guys have that? So you see this line var synthesis equals window speech synthesis? Are you going to copy that file? So I just want to show you that how this works in action. So open up a browser, press Option Command J, or it's just a developer console that you have to open up, and then type in var synthesis equals window.speech synthesis. It just basically creates a speech synthesis object for you to reference later. Yeah. Okay, once you have that, you can copy. If you scroll down on line 110 for drivers.js file, you'll see there's a speak file here. Here you see the var phase is equal to speech synthesis utterance, and the parameter is taking text. So as a test, we're going to do var phrase is equal to new speech synthesis utterance. Wait, sorry. And let's just pass in any string that you want to test. So here we're going to do, I'm going to type welcome to Hacktorial. Okay. Now if I type synthesis.speak and pass that phrase as a parameter, it's going to say
Welcome to Hacktorial.
Hacktorial. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, that's a problem. Is that better? Yeah, this is the one that I highlighted, so that's the typo, so ignore that. The var synthesis is equal to window speech synthesis, and var phrase is new speech synthesis utterance, and whatever the string you want to pronounce. And then pass it to the speak method within the synthesis object. And increase your volume, you should be able to hear whatever it said, whatever you're going to try to make it pronounce. All right, we're hearing some sounds. Good sign. So right away, you see like this kind of a convenient feature is already embedded in your Google Chrome, so you actually don't have to build anything in creating like this kind of voice feedback. Yes.
This speech stuff built into
Oh, this is local to Chrome.
Oh,
Yeah.
but it is JavaScript.
Yeah, everything is in JavaScript, right? Okay.
Welcome to Hacktorial. Hack, 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 hack.
Yeah, it should. All right, if everybody's good, we're gonna move on. Okay. So I'm gonna like kind of skip through some parts because like we could play around with WebKit speech recognition part, but it's like I think we're gonna have a little bit of trouble, so we'll just go with the existing code. It is okay, but it should really be easily understandable. And if you guys are having trouble understanding the code, I'll refer to documentation that you guys can refer to later. Okay, problems? Everybody got this to work? Okay, good. Okay, good. So the speech synthesis here is just a block of code that's going to initialize the speech synthesis object so we can provide voice feedback to our application. So this is good, and we're going to set a variable because we know that now that we can our app can speak. We're going to set this can speak variable to true because we know our application will be able to speak. Okay. Now to the line 18 now, under the if statement for WebKit speech recognition. So this one is a little bit different. This unlike the speech synthesis object,
WebKit speech recognition is the object that'll let you let the Chrome understand what you say. It's actually pretty cool. In fact, it'll understand not even English. It can understand like Chinese, Korean, whatever the language you can think of. I could actually demonstrate it here, but so the idea is you're going to initialize this recognition object, and we know this application can listen. So we're going to set that to true. Okay. We're going to let the recognition.continuous to false. Now what that does is the speech recognition functionality will automatically stop once it thinks that you stop talking. Otherwise, it's going to continue to listen to you. So this kind of makes sense for our application. By the way, could you guys like come closer to the front? I think I'm like I started losing my voice, so it might be might appreciate if you guys could move to the front, but that's fine if you don't want to either. Okay. And what's something cool thing about this speech recognition object is that it'll return interim results, as in as it starts recognizing whatever you're saying, it's going to return what is already available for you. So we're going to set the interim results to true. Okay, and our recognition language is going to be English. So for recognition.lang, set it to en for English /US. Now, I'm just going to write a few lines of code and I'll describe what they are soon. Just bear with me just for one moment. Okay, good. So you guys need to write 4 functions: recognition.onStart, recognition.onResult, recognition.onError, and recognition.onEnd. So the onStart function is a function that will be executed once we set the recognition object to start listening. And the onResult is, of course, whenever you start speaking, whenever it recognizes the text, this function will be executed. And the onError function will be executed if there's an error in recognizing, and onEnd will be executed when it is done recognizing whatever you're saying. Does that make sense to everybody? Good? Okay. Yeah, these are called caller functions. Maybe you guys probably did it. We'll do it in 3:30. Okay. So we're going to start with the easy ones. If there's an error, we're just gonna log that there's an error. Not much there. And when it starts, we're just gonna log that the Jarvis application is gonna listen to your app, and we have a button. You guys you probably saw it a little earlier. You saw that there's this button, listen button, and that has a class of .button. So you're just going to change that button to display listening. Okay. So what's going to happen is when you press on that button, the text is going to change to listening. By the way, for onResult, I would just recommend you should just copy and paste what I typed there for you. All it does really is just there's an intermediate result and final result, and it will just like kind of put everything together so that you will have a final variable called transcript that will contain the text that you want to speak. Of course, we haven't initialized. Oh, we have initialized the transcript. Okay, that's good. Is everybody good so far?
Yeah, so just copy and paste whatever there is on the jarvis.js file into the jarvis.template.js. Okay, good, moving on. And then on end, so on end again will be is a function that will be executed once it is stopped, once it heard whatever you want to say. So now we want to pass this value into with.ai to be able to understand the intent, and that's what we're going to do here. So at this point, when this onEnd function is executed, the variable transcript, which is initialized at the beginning of the JS file, will be populated with whatever the text you wanted to input. And that is done on this function onResult that you guys copied. So at this point, transcript contains text we want. And we're going to construct a data object that we're going to pass into the with.ai. So we're going to say with var.data is equal to a dictionary that says key value pair of query transcript. Now we're going to make an AJAX call, which is equivalent to a post request in our case. So this follows the same syntax that we covered earlier. We're going to set the URL to /API/v1. I'll describe what the API/v1/intent is. Just a moment. We're going to set the method to post, data to data, success to process information. So this success and error are also the callback functions. These are functions that will be executed if the request is successful, either successful or there's an error at the end. If there's an error, we'll just pass in an anonymous function that will just log that there's an error. Is everything visible, by the way? Is everything easy to read? Okay, good. So of course, this process info function is empty for us. We're going to implement that. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and implement the speak function because we actually done it already. So if we can speak and the language is English, because it turns out it's terrible at pronouncing other languages other than English. Hopefully you guys are all English speakers. We're going to set the phrase to new speech synthesis utterance. And it's going to take the text value as a parameter, which we're going to pass in to construct this new object. And then we're going to make it speak. Okay? So same thing that we did on the console. And you guys got it to work. So this should be pretty clear, I think. Okay. So this URL, you guys might wonder, what the heck is this API v1.intent? What I actually did was, let me show you. Oh, this is, sorry, I didn't think this screen size would be a problem. If you go to a routes folder, if you go back to the root directory of the repository, there's a folder named routes. And if you go to routes folder, there's a file named index.js, which is this file. So you see that, so what this basically, you don't actually have to understand what this does. I just did it so that this will make this process entirely easier for everybody. What this does is it creates an endpoint named API v1.intent, and it's basically going to make a request to the with.ai and receive the result and send it back to you. That's all it does. So that's where the endpoint comes from, the URL comes from. It's this artificial URL that I've created that will be able to process our request. And if any of this does not make sense, you can actually go to the with.ai's official documentation to be able to understand what each of these functions do. But that's, for our purposes, all we have to do is we're just going to pass the text into this endpoint and we're going to receive a result that just tells us the intent. That's very convenient for us. So that's settled. Speak is good, and the listen command. Okay, so let me see. if you guys take a careful look at the HTML file that gets rendered, I've written the code such that this listen command function will be executed if the button listen is pressed. So that's actually when we want to make our application want to start listening. So we're gonna say if it, of course, if it cannot listen, we're gonna print out, error. Of course, we cannot listen, and we're gonna return there. And if it is already listening, we're gonna stop the recognition. So that you can do that by typing recognition.stop and return. So we don't want to make it start listening again when it is already listening. The listening object should be listening variable should be set at the top of the file. So we're just going to set that true. We're just going to check if it is listening. So it should be initialized to false, so it should be okay. So if neither of them are true, then we want to start listening. So we're going to set the transcript, which will be the variable that stores our text, to empty string. And now we're going to say, oh, we're going to start listening. So we're going to set the listening variable to true. And then we're going to start recognizing, which you can do by recognition.start. You might wonder, where am I getting all these functions, recognition.start? All of these can be obtained by looking up the web speech API. So it's just like these are specific implementations of API. But if you have background of 131, you can all implement this on your own. Okay, so when you click on the listen command, it's just going to listen for it's going to just start listening for you. Okay, so we have all the parts that we need to start listening. Let me do a quick test here now. So if you move back to the initial kind of a root for the repository, and if you run npm start, you should get this thingy, this text, and that means your application is running now. And open up a browser, and go to localhost 3000, and it should be able to render this page. Does it work with anybody? Does this pop up on your screen? So you need to run npm start.
So there's a node on install. You need to type npm install download. So all we've built so far is just, our Chrome app will be able to just listen to what we say and parse it as text. So that's all we've done so far. Yes, sir.
My AI is in German.
Sir?
My AI is in German.
German?
Yes.
Did you set the recognition.length to
No, like only when it says numbers.
what?
No, you gotta see this.
What did you do from like people? Yeah. Oh. Yes. I don't know. Yeah, it's must be something that your machine's not. I guess. Yeah. It's just a bunch of.
All right. So actually, if you follow, even if you did not follow through the tutorial so far, the application should work no matter what, because you guys actually ran my code, not your code.
Are you running? Are you running?
NPM start.
You have a
Yeah. You usually have to root directly of the repository.
You're gonna go to error messages.
close. Close legal. Open the door.
So you should have all these salvage. Oh. Yeah, that's awesome. You should have it.
Oh, my bad. What's that talking about? My bad.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right, moving on. If 3,000 is a default order, no.
All right. So once you're done with that, well, now we're just gonna quick. So we're actually almost done. That's the whole point of this hackathon. That you don't actually need to know a lot of code to be able to finish writing this kind of app. Yeah, well, we were writing it too. We were writing it on the side, right? You see, the complexity of the code is almost trivial here. Like, we're not doing anything like super fancy or using any like kind of a advanced programming like techniques, right? Okay, so we have everything we need. So we are getting the text now. So we just need to process that information. Okay. So we're at the function process info, which takes a response object as a parameter. Again, this is the function that executed once the AJAX call is successful, which means that with that AI, I was able to return the result to us. what we're gonna do is we're gonna check. Sorry, there should be a response. So we're gonna say intent is equal to the response object, intent within the response object. We could actually look at the individual requests and see how they look like. So if you're back to this demo, we can say, please close the door. Huh? Oh, actually, I've done that on a different implementation, but that's just one second. I just want to show you guys what the actual response object looks like. Please close the door.
Closing your door.
Okay, so we see this object. This is the object that is returned by with.ai, and you can see that it has a text parameter which just encodes the text that we passed in, a confidence level, how confident with.ai is, which we're going to ignore in our case, and it's able to tell that the intent was door, and the on and off value was off. So all we have to do is really just parse this data and then perform whatever operation we need to perform. So I'll just put it on the right side now. So again, we have the text, confidence, intent, and entities, which has an entity as an object, which using the key on and off, we get the value on an array. Okay?
So for the on-off of getting off, like it went the same.
Okay, try adding some other thing. Maybe say like, please close the door, or add some other thing. Yeah, that's based on the change. So we actually found that if you say open the door, that exact phrase. Yeah. If you say that's like a one edge case that I really open the door. Yeah, that's all. So if you the actual with that explicitly has that example to open the door. But say open the door, close the door. Yeah, but like if you say something else like behind us, please or like excuse. Okay, so we're gonna process the info now. So we're gonna, the intent is again as intent parameter within the response object. And we're going to set the entities to response.entities. And of course, based on our intent, we're going to pass it through a switch statement. If it is door, we are going to operate the door. And we're going to pass in entities as a parameter here. And then break. In case of temperature, we actually haven't explicitly trained the temperature here in our example, but it follows the basically same principle as what we did to train the door on with.ai. Now, if it is temperature, of course, we're going to change the temperature to entities. Close semicolon and break there. And to operate the door, we just have to, check. If entities is not null, we set a state variable to entities on off, and you guys saw that on our object earlier. Here has the key of on off. Okay. So if there's an entity, we're going to have a state variable that encodes our on and off information. So if there's state, we're going to set the value to the first element in that array, to value. And you can see that right here, on and off. We have on index 0, there's a key value pair of value and off, so we need to access the value. Okay. So if value is on, we open the door. I'll just write that as a comment for now. And else, we just close the door. So to close the door, I mean, of course, if you actually have, and open to close the door, if you actually have some kind of sophisticated hardware, this is where you would actually make that command. In our virtual smart home, we're just going to change the CSS property of the door square that we had. You can access that by .door.css, change the background color to this hex code FFF. That's background is white, so that's for on. Yeah, that makes sense. For when it is closed, we're still at the open. We're going to change the text color to black now. And we're going to make it speak. We earlier wrote a speak function that kind of abstracts away all the details. So we can just call speak opening the door. So whenever we're trying to open the door, it's going to call, say, opening the door. You can copy these 2 lines of code for on, because we basically do the same thing, except to swap the background color and the color. We're just going to invert the color here. And we're going to make it speak, closing the door. Okay? So the door part is implemented now. And we're just going to do basically the same thing here for changing the temperature. If there's an entity, we're going to set the state variable to entities temperature. Okay? And then if there is a state, we're going to set the value to state index0.value. And then this value should contain our temperature value. So we're going to access this div element with, actually, I believe it's h1, element with ID of temp, and change the text value to value. And then we're going to make it speak, changing the temperature to plus value plus degrees. So once you're done up to this point, all you need to do now is go back to, sorry, let me zoom in here. Go back to public JavaScript. You need to rename the jarvis.template.js file to just jarvis.js file. So you can erase the existing, actually I wouldn't recommend erasing it, just like rename jarvis.js file to maybe backup.js. And then rename the jarvis.template file, template.js, to just jarvis.js. Okay? Is it clear? Okay, and then we go back to our, ooh, wait. I might be on a different folder. Yeah, okay, hold on, sorry. Okay, great. So you should have backup.js and jarvis.js in your JavaScript folder. Now we should be ready to go. You run npm start, and we're going to go to localhost 3000 to render here. And we say, let me see. Ooh, I have some typo. 107. Oh. That's my fault. I typed case twice. Sorry, colon twice after case. You should say case door without, yeah, colon. That's my fault. So once you make that change back, wait, that's still Traverse JS file. Okay, good. So you need to change that back to delete just 2 colons there, and then run it again. And then you should be able to run this. Please close the door. Please close the door. Oh, actually, I haven't updated my own token value. Sorry, I had you guys update, but I haven't updated my own token. Let me just do that quickly. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so if you see the console, you'll see that there's an invalid response that I received from wit, and that's because I was using wrong token value. Please close the door. Okay. Speech synthesis utterance is undefined. All right, well, I make mistakes too, so we'll debug this. 95. Speech synthesis utterance. Well, it seems like I just make my own personal mistakes here, but did you guys get it to work on your own? All right, okay, yeah, I'll just go around and just individually debug what's going on, because I made some mistakes over there. Yeah, probably. Were you able to run it earlier? Please close the door. Please close the door. Please close the door.
Open the door.
Yeah, that exactly. Open the door for some reason.
It says, please open the door.
No.
Closing the door.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's false in the beginning, but if you get to actually, I think we can use more all the way up.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Maybe rerun it. Wait, sorry? Other examples?
Like other things that are created.